Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Monday here on The Story, and tonight, the Multnomah County Chair is releasing security footage of a recent stabbing that happened outside the Central Library. She says the public deserves transparency. Plus, you filled our inbox, so we're going to get to some of your thoughts on how Portland's mayor is asking for your help to meet his homeless shelter goals. But first, switching political parties from Republican to Democrat. You don't often hear of that happening in Salem. Well, State Representative Cyrus Javadi did just that, and he joins me live in just a few minutes to explain why. It's our big story tonight.
Colleagues, this isn't just about 6 cents. This is about whether Oregon stays connected or whether we let the arteries of our state slowly collapse. I believe we must choose connection. I believe we must choose responsibility, and so I'll vote yes. We can pay a little more now at the pump, or we can pay a lot later in lives, wages, and lost opportunities.
Well, that's Cyrus Javadi, who represents the North Oregon coast, mostly Clatsop and Tillamook counties, encouraging lawmakers to vote in favor of Democrats' transportation bill during the special session. He went on to be the only Republican in the House to vote in favor of the bill. Now, it wasn't the first time this year Representative Javadi broke with the Republican Party this session. It wasn't even the second time. Now, he says he's leaving the Republican Party behind altogether. He's registering as a Democrat to run for re-election, saying the Republican Party is, quote, not about governing, it's about burning things down. Representative Cyrus Javadi joins us live in studio tonight to talk about that. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, so we'll talk about your reasons for switching parties in just a moment. But first, I want to know what attracted you to the Republican Party in the first place?
I was attracted to the Republican Party, I'd say early 2010, 2011, 2012, when Mitt Romney ran for president of the United States. And as somebody who I thought was pragmatic and practical, but also moderate, the way he approached problem solving really drew me to the party, and thought that that was a place where I could go to be a part of, or cheer on at least, what government was doing to help us in America.
So what led up to your decision to switch parties?
You know, I'd say since Donald Trump got into office, I've been somewhat concerned. And, just the way that he went about trying to solve problems or burn things down made me skeptical, but I kept hoping that the party would return to its, basics, to its fundamentals. And as the longer time's gone on, the less I've been convinced that's ever going to happen. And after a long session of trying to solve what I think were pretty complicated problems, but also very important to the North Coast, and watching the Republican Party continue to oppose almost every single one of those priorities, I determined that the party was moving on and I wasn't going to move on with it. And I was going to work with a party like the Democratic Party that was there for me over and over and over again to solve those problems that were important to Oregon and to the North Coast.
So I'm curious, why did you not switch to independent? Why Republican to Democrat?
Great question. Politics is a team sport, and one of the reasons, if you go back and look at like James Madison, why he felt like parties were bad was because he felt like once you get a group of people together working on a problem, it can easily lead to tyranny. But after Alexander Hamilton started his party, Madison became really concerned about the direction it was going and formed the Democratic-Republican Party to oppose Hamilton. And so with our two-party system, with me feeling like the Republicans are going down a path that I couldn't follow, I wanted to be a part of a team that not only would oppose the direction they're going, but also really solve problems.
So your decision, has sparked outrage from some Republicans, people online calling you a traitor, among other things. What would you say to those people who see this as you being a traitor?
Well, I understand their frustration, but I really feel like it's the party that left me. I don't feel like I've betrayed the party. In fact, ever since the beginning, the reason I got into politics in the first place was to solve problems, and I've shown up every time consistently for not only the North Coast, but all of Oregon, whether it's protecting rural health care, making sure we have roads to drive on, making sure that children have access to going to the doctors, or people having access to books that reflect who they are. The Republican Party opposed that, the Democratic Party supported that, and that aligned with my values.
So I have to ask you, given your recent voting history, was your decision to switch parties because you knew it would be hard to be reelected as Republican? Did that play into it at all?
No, not at all. This wasn't about running away from a fight. If I was worried about being reelected, I just would have gone along with the party and continued to vote no on everything and not to try to work to solve problems. For me, this was about being true to who I was, representing the North Coast, representing Oregon, sticking true to my values. You know, one of the things about the Oregon North Coast is where Senator Betsy Johnson served for a long time, and she was known for crossing the aisle and always putting people first. And for me to continue in politics, I had to have that freedom and that independence to do that. So this never came down to where would it be easier to be reelected. I trust the voters will make that decision in April or May and then again in November. But I needed to be where I could best represent the district and Oregon.
So let's talk about the Republican Party as a whole. You wrote in your online blog, the Republican Party wants a, quote, spectacle. You wrote the Republican Party is heading in a direction that is, quote, not about governing, it's about burning things down. What do you mean by that, and what would you like to see the party do differently?
Yeah, you know, I think we've gotten to a point in politics, and we see it all the time on national television and on local television, where it's about scoring political points, getting followers, being viral, rather than just solving problems. We've seen it recently in Washington, D.C. with laying off hundreds of workers. We saw it recently in the state where we wanted to close down the Oregon Department, not close the Department of Oregon of Transportation, but to prevent them from doing the basic services that we count on. Whereas the Democrats wanted to solve those problems. And so when I talk about the Republican Party wanting to burn things down, whether it's on immigration or whether it's on health care, what I mean is they don't want to solve problems. They want to get rid of institutions that are important for us to function in society and to make sure we can have our freedoms protected, whether it's due process or whether it's basic rule of law. And so for me, a party that is willing to champion those priorities, even when it's hard, is where I feel at home. And those values right now, for me, align with the Democratic Party of Oregon.
And let's keep talking about ODOT and ODOT funding. You were the only Republican in the House to vote in favor of the governor's transportation funding package. And you wrote the Republican Party decided back in January during a meeting to oppose any transportation package. What did you make of that meeting and that decision?
Well, it's true, and what I made of it was that seemed a little bit backwards, right? We don't know what the problem is. We haven't seen what the potential solutions are, and yet we're already deciding before we've even had a discussion in the building that we're going to be a no vote. And it was just because being able to say that we voted no on taxes would help us win elections wasn't a way to govern. And so I was frustrated by that and concerned. I thought it was a little premature and basically took us out of the discussion of solving a pretty important problem for Oregon.
Did any other Republicans share that frustration?
No, not really. Not expressed in that way in that meeting, and then not really even throughout the session.
Okay, and you were let down by that, I'm sure?
Definitely let down by that. We're there to solve problems. We're not there to, wear party labels and jerseys and do the exact opposite of what the other party is, simply to win an election. We're there to serve the people of Oregon. But
to be fair, Republicans, they had their own proposal to fund ODOT by pulling money from climate initiatives, public transit, instead of raising taxes. So why did you support the Democrats' bill instead, which raised taxes?
Well, I didn't just blindly support it. I spent months, hundreds of hours really diving into what the problem was and how we were going to solve it. The Democrats had a plan on the table that addressed a particular problem, and that problem was ODOT's getting very expensive to do the things it needs to do. Not able to build roads because asphalt, concrete, steel, and labor have gone up 80%, and the revenue model hasn't followed with it. And so one of the options was the Democrats' plan, let's raise the gas tax 6 pennies, let's raise the payroll tax 0.1%, let's start charging EV vehicles 2.3 cents a gallon. And the Republicans' party was, well, let's not do that because raising taxes it sounds like a bad thing. And I agree, nobody wants to raise taxes. But they said, well, there's money over here in this bucket where we use to fix major roads. Let's sweep that over into maintenance. And here's this public transportation money. Let's defund public transportation and use that to help maintain roads. For me, that was a non-starter. There's too many people that depend on public transportation, people who can't get into an Uber, people who need assistance of all types that depend on public transportation bus routes, especially on the North Coast, where for over a year, people couldn't get to their dialysis appointments without the help of a bus, for example. And so when I looked at those two plans, it was clear to me that there was no possible way to sweep all of that money into the one category of maintaining roads without cutting some pretty vital services that we needed. Or we could raise taxes 6 pennies, which amounted to $2.50 a gallon for the average driver in Oregon, or payroll tax increase of 0.1%, which was $1 per thousand, which is still real money. And in a time when things cost a lot, that can really add up for a family. But so does having closed roads when you can't get to work. And on the Oregon North Coast, if there's a landslide like there is every winter, and someone can't get from their home to their job or their home to the doctor, it's not $2.80 we're worrying about. It's hundreds of dollars in lost wages.
Okay. Representative Javadi, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think about Representative Javadi's switch? Do you agree with the way he sees the Republican Party, or do you think there's something else going on? We want to hear from you. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. And Representative Javadi isn't the first Oregon Republican to leave the party in the last few years. Former Representative Charlie Conrad left the party last year and became an independent, saying that he'd rather fight for his district than President Trump, and that the Republican Party is always looking for somebody to hate. Former Senator Brian Boquist also left the Republican Party in 2021 to register as an independent, but he then returned to the Republican Party in 2023. And former Representative Newt Bueller left the party in 2021 to become a non-affiliated voter. He left after Oregon Republicans endorsed conspiracy theories about the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Okay, still ahead on the story, it is a war of words over video of a crime scene at the Central Library in downtown Portland. Meanwhile, one business owner near the library says she gave it her best shot, but conditions there forced her to leave. We'll explain when the story returns. Tonight, Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson is releasing security footage of a recent stabbing outside the Central Library. Her decision to do that came just about an hour ago because this morning she publicly called on the district attorney to release it. The thing is, she didn't actually have to do that. The county, which is in charge of the library, had the video the whole time, along with the authority to release it. So we're not sure why she made the demand in the first place. On August 25th, just after 5 p.m., police say a 44-year-old man was stabbed and beaten with a skateboard after leaving the library at Southwest Yamhill Street and 10th Avenue. He was taken to the hospital with multiple stab wounds and injuries. The three suspects, two 18-year-olds and a 21-year-old, were arrested shortly after. Now, according to court documents, the three suspects were seen by library security arguing on the steps. The victim yelled at them from across the street to allegedly try and intervene, and that's when the group attacked him. Well, today, the Multnomah County District Attorney announced they have been indicted, each facing a series of charges, including assault and unlawful use of a weapon. They'll be arraigned tomorrow morning. Now, this morning, the county chair called for transparency in this case, saying that there is misinformation circling around the incident. She said in a statement, this was a traumatic incident for everyone involved. We all want a society where everyone is safe to walk on our streets and people are held accountable for their actions. I'm calling on District Attorney Nathan Vasquez to release the security footage from the Central Library so everyone can have a better understanding of this incident. The chair said she recently saw some security video capturing one angle of the incident, and she says there seems to be a serious discrepancy between the video that she saw and what was reported to have happened by the library, security staff, and Portland police. County Commissioner Shannon Singleton also chimed in late last month, posting this on social media, saying in part, I have reviewed the video and current public statements and narrative do not depict the full story of what occurred. I implore the DA to convene a grand jury and Portland Police Bureau to review the video and update their statements to more accurately reflect what happened. It is critical that we are accurate in the stories we tell and the language we use about Black youth to avoid the ongoing history of racism. Well, Multnomah County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez responded today saying the video is an important piece of evidence, but he adds the Multnomah County Library has a copy of the same video within their control. If the chair believes the video should be made public immediately, she is within her authority to direct the library, a county department, to release it. It is not the role of the district attorney's office to try criminal cases via press releases, headlines, or social media commentary. Well, just about an hour ago, the Multnomah County chair said now that the district attorney has made it clear the county can release the video without impacting the investigation. They are releasing it in the name of transparency. They're giving the video to media who picks it up in person tonight. Our team is on its way to get it, and we'll review it. We'll show it to you tonight on the news at 11. But let's remember, this is just the latest violent incident that's happened around the Central Library. In July, a man was shot and killed right across the street.
We just can't continue to ignore the fact that we have a serious problem here downtown.
Businesses are leaving parts of downtown Portland over concerns around safety. This is nothing new. We've been talking about this for years, but some are growing impatient with just how long it's taking to fix the ongoing safety problems. We caught up with Camila Adams. She's the owner of Mimi's Fresh Teas, a social justice, women empowerment apparel company. Now, she had a storefront by the Central Library on Southwest Morrison Street. It's now empty after she moved last year due to safety concerns. Her business is now mainly online. She also does markets and pop-ups.
It was great when I first got here. It was a vibrant area, but when Target closed down due to all the drug activity, and then the Central Library reopened back up because they were closed for the remodel, I seen an influx of drug activity, and my customers didn't feel safe anymore coming downtown.
Now, Camila says while working there, she witnessed everything from fights to drug overdoses in broad daylight.
It just kind of detoured from people that, like myself and other businesses who wanted to revitalize downtown. And, you know, all of our efforts seem to be falling by the wayside because of the activities that were going on down here.
She organized for about 30 businesses around the area. They wrote a letter and sent it to City Council expressing their concern. Nothing changed. Still,
And I'm happy I moved. I'm happy I closed it now because it would just really be stressful. I just felt disappointed. I felt disappointed in our city. I'm born and raised here in Portland, and this is not the Portland I grew up in at all. Our elected officials need to do something. They have to. And I'm not paid, that's not my job to figure out what they need to do. But they got to start collaborating and talking to small businesses to see how we can all come together to solve this problem.
Well, last week, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson sent out a letter asking you for help when it comes to tackling the homeless crisis. He sent out this 9-page document listing what he needs in donations to reach his shelter goals. Things like volunteering to work in shelters, furniture, food, vehicles, even money, to help out with his plan to open 1,500 new emergency overnight shelter beds by December 1st. Well, we wanted to know what you thought about that, and your responses came from both sides. One viewer said, "I do not support asking the community for money. We work hard and it's been tough for a lot of us to pay our bills. If I have to budget, so should the city." But a viewer named Deborah said she didn't mind, and she left us this voicemail.
I am totally on board with doing anything that I might be able to do to help to eradicate the homeless problem. And I don't mind being asked at all.
Other viewers say they haven't even gotten what their taxes have paid for yet. Karen said, "I think that request is ridiculous. I pay enough taxes and not sure what is done with the money. Drug use on city streets is seen every day. Camping on public streets and trash continues. Crime continues in the city streets with potholes, weeds growing higher than a car. And then you wonder why no business wants to hang their shingle in Portland. Take a good look, Mr. Mayor." But others said the city's problems belong to all of us, like Randy, who wrote, "Portland finally has a visionary leader focused on homelessness. Asking for volunteer time and money is reminiscent of JFK's ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." But another viewer left us this voicemail, doubting that the mayor's shelter plan will even work.
The mayor asking for the people, the taxpayers, to fund even more for homelessness is absolutely offensive. They spent $700 million to do absolutely nothing. Most of the shelters sit empty every day while they don't enforce the no camping ban. And people are just fed up.
But Francisco says there's nothing wrong with just asking, writing, "If some of us are struggling financially or don't have any time left to give in our busy schedule, well, guess what? No one is twisting your arm to do so. I prefer that than having my taxes raised again." Well, which side of the argument do you fall on? Let us know at thestory@kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. We're back right after this. Well, early this summer, while covering the Rowena fire, one of our KGW crews found a kitten badly burned. 3 months later, Thomas Schultz wanted to check back in and see how the little guy is doing.
As we are covering the wildfire, we are also obviously monitoring a lot of what's going on in the devastation.
Oh, horrible.
In the worst of times, it's possible to find what makes you whole.
We're just in Rowena. We were going door knocking.
3 months ago, disaster struck Wasco County. A wildfire rushed through Rowena, charring land, flooring homes, and injuring animals. Though since then, for one kitten,
Rudy!
everything's changed.
There he is!
Hey, buddy.
This is Rudy. He was a stray without a home when we met him in June, sitting outside an abandoned home during the fire. His nose was badly burned, his fur charred, his breathing barely noticeable. We rushed him to the vet, straight to Megan.
I gave him the name Rudolph because his nose was all red.
3 months later,
Now he's like perfect.
he's unrecognizable. Megan, a vet assistant in the Dalles, adopted Rudolph, or Rudy for short.
The paws and his tail and his ears and face had all the burns.
Day after day, she peeled off old bandages, supplied treatment, and wrapped Rudy's paws again.
So his paws must have been in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, they were the worst. They were the worst part. He's got a toe on his back that fused together from the fire.
Early on, Megan says vets were concerned Rudy's paws might become infected. If so, they'd have to amputate.
When I first saw him and my mom sent me a video, I was really sad how bad he looked. But to see him healthy now, it's just amazing.
Within like a week, it was like a miraculous recovery. And then 2 weeks, it was like nothing had ever happened to him.
And now, a few months later,
He's turned into a handsome fella.
Rudy's made a full recovery.
He jumps around. He does parkour off of the furniture.
Far away from a life-changing fire, this formerly stray kitten is busy with his family, exploring his new home.
He has definitely made his mark here.
In the Dalles, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching.